Scott Brown here. Have you ever been working with a professional who shows you how to do something that you've done many times before, but they do it in such a simple way that you wonder, why didn't I know that? That is such an easy way of doing things. Now it's changed the way I worked. We've done this before. I did 10 carpentry tricks and tips that changed the way I worked, and thanks to the comment section, thanks to some of my friends, and thanks to my 20 years of being a builder, I have 11 more carpentry tricks and tips that have changed the way I work. When you're nailing into the end of a piece of wood, sometimes it can split. So to help prevent that, you can blunt the end of your nail. Now a lot of people might know this trick, but do you know why it works? So if you've got a jolt head like this, you turn it round so the head is there, and you hit the pointy end of the nail. Now that is mushroomed out, and on top of that we've created a little divot there so the head of the nail can be sunk all the way down. Like that. And look, no split. There's a little bit under there, but we'll just ignore that. So to understand why this works, you have to understand the way timber is. Think of timber as a whole bunch of straws held together, and the end grain is the end of all those straws facing you. Now when you drive a regular nail in, you are driving a wedge in, effectively. The nail is pushing those straws apart as it drives itself in. When you blunt the nail, you are severing the straws. It's just using sheer force to cut its way through, and that's why it doesn't split like that. I thought that was a cool tip. Oh yeah, one more bonus tip before we go to tip 2. Oh, here I am, hammering away, doing a great job. Whoops, big dent. Not very nice. Now that happens to the best of us, and it's only a mistake if you cannot fix it. And here's how. You wet a piece of cloth, and then you make sure that timber is nice and wet there, and then you apply heat. Check the dent, make sure it's rising. Yeah, we're already pretty close there. Now going back to the way timber is made up, what this does is it adds moisture to those straws, the cells of the timber. So all we did when we dented this timber is we crushed those straws. And provided you don't sever the straws, doing this adds moisture to the inside of the straw, makes it expand again to its previous shape. Heat helps with that as well. And then once it dries out, the cell stays how it was. And your dent is gone. All gone. It was here somewhere, inside that circle. Tip 2.
So we're looking for a stud.
Yeah.
There's one right here, mate.
Oh. So if you're looking for a stud in a wall, there's a high chance that there'll be either a nail or a screw inside there, and the magnet will pick that up.
I mean, to save time, tell me where there might be one.
Closer to the edge, you'll definitely
Oh, there you go.
Hey, gooditama.
It's hilarious that that's our stud finder. My neighbour gave it to me. It's like an egg having an existential crisis.
Your neighbour is, or that is?
The gooditama, not my neighbour.
Hey.
Oh, that's quite fun.
Well, it just so happens that a subscriber a while back gave me a little invention that is pretty much the same thing. Yeah.
That's so cool.
I'll find the link and I'll put it below for that.
That's my favourite so far.
Wedge your deck. I do this trick on every deck I do. My friend Pido taught me this trick, and that is to straighten every 4 or 5 boards. So you straighten the first board, you fix that, and then you measure the equivalent of 5 boards, 4 boards, it's up to you, and the gaps that will be in between those boards. You then go to that next point over here, and you screw another board parallel to the first board. And then you're free to cut all the boards in between without worrying about straightening them. And then here's the key. Once all those boards are cut to length and they're in between the 2 fixed boards, then you cut all your wedges and you drop them in the gaps. And then you bang them about until they're even, and then you fix it off. Don't ask me why it's more efficient, it just is. And every time I do a deck now, I do that. A bonus tip is to cut your own wedges. Whenever you're cutting your own wedges, just make sure you cut down the grain. You don't want to cut across the grain because this happens. That's that cell growth again. Because all the cells are going this way, they can easily separate. But if you cut your wedge long ways, you're going with the grain. And it doesn't snap. How am I going to get that out now? Oh yeah, and when you do the wedges, make sure you use timber that is at least as hard as the thing you're trying to wedge. So for the decking, just use an offcut of decking. Otherwise, if it's softer, it'll just compress and it won't wedge anything. Tip 4. Don't be afraid to cut your blade. Now this trick might not be popular because these blades are very expensive, multi-tool blades. So the idea of grabbing a grinder and turning it into this might not be very appealing to people. But here's a way you should consider it. So using the cladding on my house as an example, they're timber weatherboards. And timber weatherboards are pretty tricky to get off because they overlap each other. You can cut the majority of the weatherboard quite easily, but when you need to get to that little bit that is underneath the board above, it can be tricky. So I cut this multi-tool blade so I can maneuver it up and cut just the little bit of timber that's stuck behind the weatherboard above. That's really useful when you just need to replace one board, say it's rotten or something, rather than replacing the whole cladding. But I think it's an overall principle that could be used elsewhere in carpentry. So let me know in the comments below how you manipulate multi-tool blades to suit your job, because I'm sure there's many possibilities. I know they're expensive, but cut them anyway. Don't be afraid to cut your blade. Now of course you can be a big manly man, like I am right here, or you can ask for help in carrying sheets. And when you do, make sure you're on the same side of the sheet. This is Apprenticeship 101. Jess, can I please have some help? So if Jess here is on the opposite side to me, like she is here, and she grabs the sheet, which you're gonna do now, and I'm grabbing this sheet, and we're walking towards you, I can feel her fighting me, and I'm probably fighting her as well. Is that what it feels like?
It's not comfortable.
Whereas if we go back to the start, and Jess goes on the same side that I'm on, and then we go. Is that more comfortable?
Oh yeah, because it's leaning against us.
Yeah, we're not fighting each other.
By the way, Scott, conflating asking help with not being a manly man, you're more enlightened than that.
We're about halfway now, and you might be halfway through building your website. Make sure you're using Squarespace. Squarespace! Squarespace is an all-in-one platform where you can build your online presence and run your business. Squarespace is how we built Browncarpentry.com, and that's because it's easy. We did it before they sponsored the channel, and what we liked at first was all their online templates, thousands of templates to choose from, so you're bound to find something that's going to match the style of your business. Speaking of matching the style of your business, they also have invoices built into the website now, and that matches the style of the template that you've chosen. So your branding is going to be cohesive. And more recently, they've introduced something called Blueprint AI, which is AI software built into the platform. So you basically just add some information about your website, Squarespace will take care of the rest. It'll drum up a whole website and you can just tweak it to make it suit your needs exactly. They also have e-commerce tools built into the platform. So if you want to sell something, it's all set up, ready to go with Squarespace. It's just an easy to use website builder. You don't need to know how to code. It's all drag and drop. It's just easy. And they also have a free trial, so there's nothing to lose. And then once you're ready to launch your own website, make sure you go to squarespace.com/Scott Brown Carpentry, and you can save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thanks, Squarespace. This is one of the worst jobs in renovations, and this is my trick for dealing with it. It is called the laser level parallel trick. So let's imagine you're doing a renovation, and this is a very old house, and this is one end of a really crooked wall, and this down here is the other end of the really crooked wall. Well, what I'm doing down here is I'm measuring 100 mil, put 100 mil here. Now I have 2 marks. And then you line up the laser level with both marks. I want to see with the marks lined up, that's the hard part done. This is the fun part. You hold your tape against your wall and it tells you how much you need to pack it by. So this says 105, that means I need to pack this 5 mil because my mark is 100 mil. And then over here, where there seems to be a bit of a bend in the wall, it says 155. So if I pack this 55 mil, that will be straight. Usually I would write on the studs different measurements, you know, 55, 60, 70, whatever it is. And then you rip timber packers to suit those measurements. And that's how you end up with a straight wall. the laser level wall straightening trick. That's the sound of my neighbour's lawn's getting mowed. Imagine this is a door that you've just cut and you want it to be nice and square. Well, this one's simple. You just measure corner to corner. That says 902 and that's 902 as well. That means that's nice and square. Alright, tip number 8. This is very difficult to see me right now, isn't it? Because the sun is blaring in, but this here is my window handle and it's very loose. And the reason it's very loose is because the holes that the screws are in are too big for the screws. There's a very easy way to fix that, so let's do it. I was a little late to this trick. I only ever use builder's bog to fill nail holes and divots. I was working with a couple of other builders who were maybe 5 or 10 years older than me, and they pulled out a piece of wood like this and started shaving it along the grain like this, creating these little splinters essentially. And then they covered it in glue, stuffed them into the loose hole, and then shaved it flat, and then the screw was able to anchor again, which is exactly how we do tip 8. I've always liked that trick. Yes, you can use bog, yes, you can use filler, but it's one less product to get, right? You just need glue and the timber you're probably already working with. Tip 8, fill your screw holes with timber. Solid. Next carpentry trick that changed the way that I work, at least, is a measuring trick, a very simple measuring trick. Sometimes you need to measure in tight spaces like this. Say I wanted to get something to fit tightly in the back of this box. I would put my tape in here like that, and on the right hand side I have to bend my tape in order to try and get a reading in that internal corner. The problem with that is you can't get an accurate reading, or at least it's tricky to get an accurate reading of exactly how wide that thing needs to be. So here's a little way around that. Go to a whole number. In this case, 400 works quite well. Flip your tape around and then see what you need to add to that. And in this case, it is 184. So add the 184 to the 400, that's 584 in this case. Let's see if it fits. This camera's so... Look at that. Pretty good. Now when you're a carpenter and you do this every day, you kind of get used to reading the bend of the tape, so you probably don't need to do that. But if you wanted to get it bang on, like maybe you're using expensive product or something like that, that can be a good way to make sure it's spot on. Or you could use the little measurement that is written on the bottom of most tape measures. It was actually on the other side. This one is 86 millimeters. And as long as the back of the tape here is butted hard in, and that end is hard in, so you look at where the tape meets the housing. In this case it's 498. You add 86 to that measurement, and then you end up with the same thing. Alright, the next one is ridiculous, but it can be kind of useful. Know your size. Know how long your body parts are. For example, if you know this off the top of your head is about half a meter, and you know that this is about 200 mils, just over 100 mils. If you don't have a measuring tape on you and you need to measure stuff, you can use your body parts. You can go up to a wall and go, oh yeah, that's 1 meter, or that's 200 mil, or that's about 100 mil, and yeah. The reason I think this is ridiculous is because my friend Ray taught me it, and he's a funny person. So every time he doesn't have a measuring tape on it and we're talking about building, he'll start doing this. He's measured his whole body. He knows exactly how to measure things without a tape. So yeah, know your size. Kind of ridiculous, but let's be honest, you'll be doing it at home. Tip number 11. This is a tick stick. And this was from the comments of the previous episode of this series. Get a tick stick to cut unusual shapes around things. Many people mention in the comments that boat builders use a tick stick like this one that I cut to cut these unusual shapes. And this is exactly how you use it. So your plywood's on there and you want it to fit into here. We've got the stud here, we've got that metal there, that metal there. They're not necessarily lining up with one another. Let's try and cut around that. But first we need a tick stick. One thing a tick stick definitely needs is a point. This is going to be the main scribing point. I'll explain that in a sec. The back of the tick stick just needs to be odd shapes that are easily traceable. Now you take your tick stick over to the thing you're scribing, and this is how you use it. So you get the point up to the thing you want to scribe around, like so. And then the random shape tells you exactly where to put the tick stick when you go to cut it out on the plywood. And the more points you make, the more accurate the scribe. Right, now we've got more height, we can make our marks. The reason the bottom part is this shape is so it's easily traceable. It could be any shape as long as you can see very clearly how to trace it, and then you can transfer over your points. So what I'm doing here is I'm putting the tick stick onto my trace marks and then putting a little dot at the point. And now you just connect all the dots you've created. I kind of messed up because I forgot to do these little cedar beads and I just guessed them. But there we go. There we go, the tick stick. Another way to scribe something that is a complex shape. So there you have it, 11 carpentry tricks and tips that change the way I work. Are any of those new to you? Which ones did you like the most? Do you have any tips and tricks that help you do similar jobs that you could put in the comments below so other people can learn and share? I learned a lot from the 10 carpentry tricks and tips video from the comment section, so thank you. How about a bonus tip? Here's my bonus tip of the day. Sharpen the saw. Stop, take 5 minutes, change the blade on your saw, grab a file, sharpen your saw, change the blade on your Stanley knife. The point is, I think we forget to take 5 minutes to improve our systems so the next 2 hours works better. We think we're stopping and slowing down, but really we're actually making the rest of our work easier. And in a way, you've kind of just done that by watching this episode. Some of these tricks might not be new to you, some might be new to you. Some of them might have just reminded you of tips that you've forgotten. Sharpen the saw. Thanks for watching this exciting episode, and I'll see you in the next one.